All right, Michelle, thanks so much for being here. My first question that I have for you is, just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and how you got started. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Michelle O'Connell. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I am a dating coach. I started my dating coaching business about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years. I'd have to look back. And I got started with dating coaching. I'm going to rewind the story a little bit. So by trade, I'm a mental health therapist. So on a regular basis, day to day, that is my main gig, mental health therapy. And I noticed that I obviously have a skill set in people, right?
Mhm.
And then with my own life experience, probably in my mid 20s, I had a breakup and we dated for a long time. And I was like, dating is going to be so fun. It's going to be awesome. And then I found out that dating was really hard. And I found out that I feel like a lot of people need help with dating. So, with my mental health background, my personal experience with dating is how I created this dating coaching business.
hmm Yeah. I get like why often people they have some difficult situations in a relationship. Oftentimes it's a lack of commitment. Other times it's sort of people are there are people in the relationship. They're not the same person. They're different people. So what was it like for you, if I may ask?
So, you're asking what was it like for me? Which part exactly?
The the was that was did you have that same sort of experience where you didn't really fit your relationship wasn't exactly what you wanted?
Well, the relationship that I was in before, it was a fine enough relationship. It just, we were kind of young and we both had realized after we broke up, like I had a lot of work I had to do on myself. And I think a
Hmm
lot of people I think everyone in their 20s should do some self-exploration. Um, and yeah, so I found that I needed to just do some work on myself is what I learned from that relationship.
And as a dating coach, do you see that with a lot of clients that you see?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have struggles in their lives and in dating and in their relationships. And it's easy to blame everybody else, right? Or it's easy to blame other people. But I think a lot of people really have to look inward and do some of that self exploration to figure out, like, okay, well, what am I bringing to the table? What are my struggles that I've not dealt with?
hmm So what sorts of modalities or things do you use as a dating coach? Because you said you had a mental health background by trade, so.
Yeah. So it is, people often ask the difference between what is dating coaching and therapy. Like, how do you differentiate, right?
Mhm.
So, as a mental health therapist, I bill insurance, there's a diagnosis. I specialize in trauma and attachment. And as a dating coach, like I said, I know what I know about the brain, the relationships, the body, but we don't dive into past traumas, right? We don't dive into a lot of that stuff that we would in therapy. With dating coaching, we target, and it's hard because everybody is so different, right? So some people I work with really need help with maybe self-esteem, how to feel more confident with dating. Some people have never dated before, right? They've been focused on their career and they don't really even know how to date. Um, there's a lot of things that people need support with.
hmm And so what are the sort of sessions look like?
Yeah. So when someone's interested in dating coaching, they usually reach out, they fill out a form on my website and we schedule a time to talk on the phone. And then we talk for about ten minutes and I just answer any questions that they have and just see what they're looking for. Because sometimes people think dating coaching is matchmaking, and that's not what I do. So then after that first call, if they want to move forward, we have an intake session and that's where they come in or we meet on Zoom and it's about an hour and I ask a lot of questions about their history with dating, what are they looking for, self-esteem, kind of typical dating patterns that they have, or what's kept them from dating. So I learn a lot about that person in that first session. And then from there, first they also get to see if they like me and they want to work with me. And from there, I say, here's what I kind of see the plan looking like, right? I think we'd create a dating profile and this, that, or this, or I think, hey, I think you have these people in your life that you're want to connect with, like how do we get the confidence to reach out to them? And so depending on the individual person, we come up with a plan and then we meet on a regular basis. Sometimes it's every week. Most often it's like every 2 or 3 weeks. With dating clients that I have, I also have a text relationship with them. So they can text me like, hey, I just matched with this person. I don't really know what to say. Or they can ask for some coaching in the moment too.
Hmm. I want to get your take on this because oftentimes a lot of people, when they meet someone new, it's usually on dating apps. Is the whole dating landscape like is the dating app sort of the new format when finding your potential match? Because before,
Yeah.
you would meet someone at a bar, at a restaurant or whatever. Because
Yeah.
that's my parents, they never met on a dating app. They met the traditional way. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was wondering what your take is on that.
Yeah. So it's the times have changed, right? And I think it all depends on how old you are and what you're doing in your life, right? Because, traditionally, quote unquote, people meet in school, right? They meet in school, or if they go to college, they have this person in their class that they see every week. And it kind of is a slow build, right? Here, you're going to be at that party. Oh, yeah, me too. And it's kind of that fairy tale that people want, right?
Hmm.
And then we know that that doesn't happen for everyone. A lot of people it actually doesn't happen for. And then what happens is as we get older, right, and we have a 9 to 5 job or we don't go out as much, it's harder to meet people, right?
Hmm.
So dating apps are a great way to meet people who have the common interest of also people who want to find someone to date.
Yeah.
You can still meet people in public, but that takes, and I should say, and that takes some courage because you have to go up to someone and say, hey, I noticed you and I just, I want to give you my number and use it. If you'd like, I'd love to take you out for coffee, right? You have to have, that takes a lot of self-esteem.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times with
Yeah.
with friends, but uh oftentimes it's not like, hey, I want to ask you for coffee. It's just the conversation starter. Like, for example, if I'm at a bookstore. I was at a bookstore once and I saw this woman, browsing around books and stuff. And then so I asked her, what's your favorite book? Get those conversations started. So it just
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, would you like
Yeah.
coffee, Because it would be like, wait, what? What's this guy doing? You
Yeah.
know?
And it can be a little bit of both, right? Because I do think sometimes just being a little bold and saying, hey, like I saw your smile from across the room and I'd be kicking myself later if I didn't come say hi to you, right? And like having whatever line it is, right? And it can be just like, oh, I love this book. Like, have you read this? Or hey, but sometimes just being bold and putting it out there, I think can be a good move.
Yeah, it can be a good move. So what sorts of common themes do you notice in your therapy sessions with clients? Do they mostly come from instances of divorce, breakups? What are some of the common themes?
Yeah. So I just want to clarify, like dating coaching sessions aren't therapy,
Right. Okay.
but it is hard to say like there's no common theme. I've worked with people who like I recently had two clients that were in their 60s and they were divorced and their kids just moved out, right? And they're like, I'm ready to date. I've worked with people who have never dated before who are in their mid 30s because for whatever reasons. right? I work with people who are really anxious or people who chronically pick people who have these like blaringly obvious red flags that they just ignore. So there's no real common theme. It's kind of all over the place in the people who reach out to me and the why.
Mm-hmm. And sort of how do you sort of help them, navigate those insecurities?
Yeah. Well, one, we have to find out what they are, right? Like, what are you insecure about? Like, let's talk about that. And then let's work to just like that part of you, to know that there's no such thing as a perfect person, and we all have issues. And embrace who you are, and the right person is going to like is going to like you.
Mm-hmm. Now let me ask, is some of the common themes, why people are hesitant, with dating again? It's is it mostly about this idea of I don't want to make sure that my next partner protects me because they're afraid that they're going to get hurt. That's probably the common um idea, I guess, is so do you get that a lot from people that are kind of maybe on the fence?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, right? Because when you think about the idea of dating, you're putting yourself out there, right? And there's when you're making that decision that I want, excuse me, to date, you're making the decision that there's going to be maybe some heartbreak, right? You're going to get to know someone and they might not like you back, right? Or maybe you were in a relationship before that, left you feeling really hurt and scared. And I think dating can feel really vulnerable. And so people are nervous and scared to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. And like, how do you as a therapist make sure to like make clients, feel seen and heard and understood?
I think, you know, people first off often want to be heard and seen and understood, right? I
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important. And um I think listening and helping people with some self-discovery, like figuring some stuff out for themselves. I think helping people to just feel like in general this is a safe space where they can share stuff, right? And I would like to think I'm a pretty non-judgmental person and compassionate, and at the same time I'm a little assertive. I say it how it is, so with kindness.
Mm-hmm. And what have you learned, in terms of being a dating coach? Is there anything that you took away from, being in that particular position, as a dating coach?
Yeah. You know, I think every time I meet with somebody, even meeting with you today, right? Like I always think of it as an opportunity to learn something new, right? Or a connection with another human, I think is just really powerful. And so, even as a dating coach, when I meet with people, even though I'm married, I was married a year and a half ago, so I'm not dating, right? I still learn from my clients. I still learn about how life is in different areas, and I learn about their personal experiences. And I think that everyone always can teach people things about themselves, even when they're not intentionally trying to do it.
Mm-hmm. And like, what do you still hope to learn in terms of like your role as a dating coach? Do you want to like explore, like something new within your role, or how do you want to
Yeah.
ex
So, what I've been thinking and what's been like on my head, two things. One, I want to write a book. And two, I want to reach out to sororities and fraternities and do more speaking in those types of ways, like speaking to them about what is healthy dating, right? How to set boundaries with dating, how to make
that's
choices.
yeah. Or TED Talks. TED Talks are usually good as well.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think you got to be a lot bigger than me to be on a TED Talk.
Yeah, yeah. So, in other words, if people want to become a dating coach, what tips or advice would you give to those who are interested in becoming one?
Yeah. So the thing about coaching, right? is that and this is like scary to me, that in the coaching world, there's not any rules and regulations, right? So as a mental health therapist, I have a license, I had to pass my boards, I have to get CEUs every year, I'm held accountable, right? There's like all these things I have to do. As a coach, it's scary because there's nothing. Like you can just say, I'm a life coach, here I am, haha, right? So I would tell people, like, if you are interested, like in becoming a dating coach, to get it to learn, right? Read a lot of books, talk with a lot of people, get some education in people, behavior, the brain, um, so that you can provide really good feedback and advice and coaching to people.
Mm-hmm. And in order for you to become a dating coach, did you have to do some educational training or read some books, or what was that like to get to where you are today?
Yeah, so like I said, when with the coaching, like there's not a lot you need to do. And so as a therapist, I was like, well, why would I be a coach? Why would I be a dating coach when I'm already a therapist, right? And part of it is that as a therapist, I would not help someone with their dating profile. I would not talk about their dates every session, right? Like I would not be texting my clients as a therapist. So like being a coach opens the door to have different boundaries. But for me, for dating coach, I had to learn a lot about business. I already have a business with my therapy, so I had that knowledge. Um, but I had to learn a little bit more about business. I had to learn a little bit more. Like I've read a lot of books about dating and different perspectives on dating. I've learned a lot about dating websites, all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. All right.